Here comes Just Dance. Ubisoft was a big surprise for me. I've yet to watch Nintendo's presentation that's coming up as I'm filming this in about 2 hours. But out of everything up until Nintendo, I think this was my favorite conference overall. I love the energy of it. And going in, I was a little uncertain because I knew Aisha Tyler wasn't going to be hosting again, and I usually like her energy and her comedy within the Ubisoft presentation. I'm not a huge fan of her as, say, like a host of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, whatever. She's pretty funny, but I always really liked her as a host on Ubisoft's stage. I don't know why. I always thought she did a good job. But this had a totally different energy, and it was a little more of a low-key, a little bit more of sort of almost like a family vibe. You got this feeling from everyone who was presenting on that stage that everyone not only knew each other very well, but really understood each other's passions, were very supportive. You got that sort of that nice feeling from this presentation. It was a totally different vibe, and I really liked it. And I think overall it showed the most interesting stuff, not a whole lot super new with one massive exception, but overall it was a very surprising performance, and I really felt throughout the whole thing genuine interest and genuine passion, not only what they're working for, but in presenting it. And you really saw a lot of the developers, especially for the big surprise that I'll leave for last. You really felt them overjoyed by being able to show the public what they're working on. You really felt this sense of pride in their effort, and being just overjoyed to share that moment with lots of people live on stage and online. And it was a great feeling that you don't often get from a lot of these. A lot of these you have a very kind of corporate presentation or very overly artsy kind of thing. This was very low-key and felt very personal, the whole attitude of the thing. And it opened with a really interesting surprise, because when we first heard about the Mario and the rabbits from Rayman coming together for a game, I was just, why? They're probably my least favorite part of the Rayman franchise, and it just stunk of a crappy little party game crossover, and that's not what it was at all. I was actually super surprised by what this game is going to be. It's a very turn-based strategy, like XCOM type thing, and it looked really good. I'm kind of on the fence about it because I don't really like the concept. What we saw was actually really impressive, and I think they're going to pull it off. I actually think it's going to be a genuinely good game, whether I personally end up playing it or not. And I was completely surprised by that. It really took me off guard, because it was not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting some weird little minigame compilation with these characters. I'm like, wow, this is something totally different. And it feels very fresh for both of those franchises, and something we haven't really seen before, especially with Mario. And then you had Miyamoto coming on stage, and it was just a great presentation, and something that was very unexpected. It was so much better. It put things into this really, really good note to start with, and really just set everything up to be presented in a very fun manner. And it was kind of after that I was like, wow, what else are we going to see? What else is going to be a little different for me? There was a whole lot throughout the rest of most of it till you get towards the end. Lots of Assassin's Creed, the Fractured Butthole, a little bit of new footage, some new jokes in there, but overall nothing super exceptional. We already know what it is. Yeah, I think we saw more last year, but overall pretty good. Transference with Elijah Wood. What the heck is that? I have no idea what it is, and I don't know. I just wrote that off as like, what? This is a strange little weird project that I have no clue what it is. But Skull and Bones, that looked pretty interesting to me. One that again stood out as, I think I'm probably not going to be super into it, but it looks like something that I think could capture the attention of a lot of people if it's done right. I also foresee it as being a possible For Honor situation again. I could see similar things happening to that, so I don't know, a little iffy there. The only pirate thing I really want to see is Skies of Arcadia, so this is not the pirate I'm looking for. But moving on to that, of course, yeah, Just Dance, I already talked about that. Starlink is a curious one because I like the concept, and it looks really cool, where you have either in-game or the actual, I like the idea of the physical, especially on the Switch, ships, and you can add and take parts back on. You'll see them show up in-game, and you can switch parts depending on what sort of scenario you're in and adjust your strategy and build up your ship, customize it a little bit. It's a really cool idea, but holy crap, I just see it as a huge money sink. I see it as something where, especially if it does well enough that they continue it and build more of the physical toys and add-ons and more DLC missions, and I just see it being sort of almost like a Skylanders type thing. You have like a bin of these parts for these ships, and you're playing, and you spend like $200 on this game over the course of a couple of years. I'm gonna stay away from that. It looks like a really, really cool concept. I think it's really creative, but I can foresee, like, as soon as the presentation as it was going, I'm like adding in my mind, like, how much is this gonna cost, and to get all these parts here, and just a continuous money sink, especially if it does well enough that it expands beyond the base game. I'm like, whoa, this is gonna be one of those costly experiences. Not really something that I would be into, but again, like most of those conferences, some cool creative stuff. It was a fun one. You really felt some creativity. And then the big one to me that I already said, I'm super excited. Beyond Good and Evil 2, I think I'm more excited that it's actually happening than I'm super excited by what we saw. Again, this was probably the best instance the whole time of seeing some real passion from people on stage and just real genuine joy at presenting this, and I'm just amazed that, wow, this is actually happening, it's a real thing. But I am holding my enthusiasm back a little bit for the actual game, since we, in a way, didn't really see any of the actual game. You got a big CG trailer, and the animation was beautiful. It looked fantastic. It was very fluid and nice, a great sense of humor and timing throughout the whole thing, but overall, I'm waiting to see what the actual game is going to be. We don't know a whole lot yet. I'm just overjoyed that it actually is going to happen, and I'm very positive and optimistic as far as what I hope it's going to be. As far as it being a prequel, I know that's divided a lot of people. It's not what I wanted either. I really wanted a sequel, but at the same time, if it's done really well and it feels the same gameplay-wise, just a little more modernized, I guess, and the story and characters are good, I'm okay with it being a prequel. I think it could be really good, and maybe that's kind of opening the doors to make a third game that is a sequel if this does well, that type of situation. You never know, so I'm okay with it, and I do think from what we saw, I'm super hyped to see what it's actually going to be, but it's definitely not one that I'm adding to my absolutely going to buy list until we know a little bit more. But just the fact that it exists for real and it's really coming out, that alone has me incredibly excited and was one of the best things I've seen, if not the best thing, at E3, just as far as personal excitement. And it is something where just having that CG trailer, I do wonder how far along it actually is, because it's been in and out of development kind of for forever, and you don't really know where did things completely change along the line or restart, and who knows, we got that teaser trailer how many years ago. So just having that makes me think this is still quite a few years away, and I think it's one that next year, probably at E3 or maybe 2 years from now, is where it's really going to be the moment where you really see everything and figure out what is this beast really going to be, what are the nitty-gritty details, and should I be super excited still. So that's one I'm kind of waiting on and want to keep my eye on, but very excited as far as the context of the conference.